we made it to the 2026 AIMExpo here in Anaheim, California. We've gone through the show. We have found things that I think are super cool and stand out at the show. So let's go check them out. Okay, so I'm walking right now over to the Verge booth. Somebody just told me that they have some information about the motorcycle that they have out now, the Verge, but they're doing an update to it where soon it's going to have over 300 miles of range and be able to charge to 80% in 10 minutes. So let's head over there. We're going to find out all about it. All right, so as we were walking around the show, as I said, I wanted to stop and look at really interesting things. I got really sick of looking at electric bicycles, so I came across an electric motorcycle.
An actual real motorcycle.
An actual real motorcycle, but then beyond that, there's a whole bunch of new cool features that you're going to tell us about. Yep. I'm getting out of the way. This is way too cool. Let us know what's going on.
So what we're looking at here is the 2024 California edition Verge TS Pro. So this bike was already fantastic. Right. We used this model bike to set the Guinness World Record for the longest ride on a single charge of any electric motorcycle, and this still has lithium-ion batteries in it. This bike that you're looking at here weighs about 540 pounds. The next generation of this bike was, with still using lithium-ion batteries, was shaved down to 507 pounds with a couple of weight-saving features, one of which being the rear wheel is the motor, and the motor is now 50% lighter. But we also saved almost 10 pounds just on the wiring harness, just redoing things, refining things. But that's not the big news. This bike currently has a maximum range of 217 miles, which is really pretty good for an electric motorcycle, right? And that world record was set at 193 miles on a single charge with still 7% battery left. And it was done in real conditions around London, right? The announcement we made a couple of days ago that is really shaking up the industry right now is all Verge motorcycles from this point on will ship with a solid-state battery system, and that's a big deal, a very big deal. If you don't follow EV technology, you might not have heard about all the research that's been going on for a decade or two into solid-state batteries. We are fully committed now to shipping all of our bikes with solid-state batteries. So now this same TS Pro with the same range will be under 500 pounds. And it will charge in less than 10 minutes instead of 35 minutes. But the bigger news even than that is because those batteries are smaller and lighter, we have more room in the chassis. We also have a longer range version that gets up to 370 miles on a single charge and still only takes less than 10 minutes to charge. So that's the big news. And if you do follow these things, you've probably seen it all over the news. We are the first EV company of any type to fully commit to solid-state batteries. Lots of other companies are working on it, developing it. We just decided to make a commitment now, and we are shipping these bikes Q1 of 2026.
And did it change? How did that change the pricing structure at all?
So if you were to, for example, let's say you had a reservation on this model bike and you decide, I'd like to wait for the solid state version of this same bike with the same 217 mile range, no change in price. So you're going to get the safer batteries, they don't catch fire, they last longer, and they charge a lot faster, and you're not going to get a price hike for that.
Is there an estimated the duty cycle difference between the lithium ions?
Yeah, so the technology that we're using, the duty cycle becomes almost a non-issue. In other words, these batteries will last the lifetime of the bike almost regardless of how long you own it, without any significant degradation.
Is there any, so if you're like us in Ohio out there, you know, and you have the 6-month layover, a lot of times like some of the bikes were bricking a lot of the old electric bikes just because of issues like that. So what?
The hope is that that won't be an issue, right? Because the new batteries that we're using will operate fully without degradation down to negative 30 degrees Celsius, right? They'll also operate at 100 degrees Celsius, very hot, 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah. So the temperature now becomes almost a non-issue as well. Yeah, so it's a big deal, right? And it's big news for the industry, not just for us, but for everybody else. We're hopefully going to be putting this into, well, actually, if you were at CES, you saw this technology in other vehicle types, right? So there's a four-wheeled vehicle that they were demonstrating the concept with, at CES alongside of our motorcycles. This is just going to be the first production vehicle to have that technology, and there's a lot of other vehicles that are in development that are also going to use that technology.
Well, and that probably frees you guys up to now you're designing, not that this isn't a beautiful bike or something like that, but now that you have smaller batteries, you can think of that in your designs, correct?
We can do all sorts of things that we might not have been able to do before because we'll have some extra room in the chassis. The motor's lighter. These things all help us. The new motor is also narrower, so that opens up a couple of avenues of development for other types of bikes too.
So, a lot of the guys that watch my channel are fairly educated motorcyclists and stuff like that. So there's going to be a couple questions. One, what's the bearing? What's the bearing situation? So how? Because like Billy Lane and all those dudes that did that in the past, it said the downfall a lot of times was the roller bearings that needed to do that.
These have a large bearing here, right? So there is a the inner part of this motor is stationary, and it is the stator. It's where the windings are. The outer portion near the rim is where the magnets are, and so that's the way this motor works. And so yes, there is one big large bearing on each side of that motor.
So actually it's more if you're looking at it through a mechanical standpoint, you have a larger bearing surface area, less heat buildup and everything, right? Okay.
Right. And heat is typically not an issue on this bike. So I've ridden it for, an hour or so at a time, got off the bike and just put my hand right in there on the cooling fins, and it's warm, but it's not hot.
Okay. And then last question, what are these bikes coming in at, like relatively MSRP for the different levels?
The price doesn't change for the solid state batteries unless you opt for the long range battery, and then it's an extra $5,000. So right now this bike is $29,900, and that's not going to change.
But you're also getting a motorcycle that can actually
charge fast and not catch on fire ever. And yes.
Well, like I had a Tuono, right? And the Tuono, if I was riding it like you're supposed to ride a Tuono, I would get 145 miles out of the tank.
Yeah.
So I mean, like this at 200 miles is already, and the performance is not. Now, what about can you hammer on it?
Yes, absolutely. So general riding, right? The way anybody would normally ride a bike, or the way I've been riding these, the same way, I still get anywhere from 100 to 160 miles out of this battery, right? That's not going to change. With the long-range battery, even if you're deadheading it on the highway, right, constant throttle, you're still going to get close to 200 miles out of that long-range battery.
That's what people have been waiting for, man. That's been the holdup. Oh, and the charging. So the charging going fast like that, all right.
That's a big deal too, right? So for the long range version, we're allowing up to 200 kilowatt power to charge the bike. And that's why it's such a short amount of time. Well, all of the superchargers around the country are around 250 to 350 kilowatts, so that's a non-issue, right? But we still retain our level 2 and level 1 charging as well, and those won't change at all.
So if you're going to commute on this or something like that, you come home and you throw it in the garage at night. Overnight it's 100%, right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Let's say, odd case scenario, you're not going to arrive at home with 0%.
Right.
But if you did, if you arrived at home with 0% and you plugged it into the wall, when you got up the next morning, it's going to be fully charged.
Wow, that's awesome. All right, website or anything that people can find you?
Yes, there's a couple of websites. So if you're really, really interested in the battery technology more than anything else, then you need to follow Donut Lab. That's our sister company, and they're the ones that are developing our solid state technology. If you're just interested in the motorcycle, then it's vergemotorcycles.com.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
This is pretty exciting. So I really appreciate you taking the time, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming by.
All right.